When I started this restaurant, the idea was to do it with as little risk as possible. So it's not a high traffic area. If I were to have done the restaurant in Shibuya or Roppongi or Ibiza, that kind of area, my investment would have been 4 times what I spent. But my intention when I did this restaurant was to do this restaurant almost as a prototype. And it's functioned well in that regard, and it's got a lot of attention. And now the trick is to make the next restaurant. That's my next goal. That's the next, I guess, hard part. Not the smart part, but the hard part is to make the next restaurant.
In terms of the PR that you've received through the news media, was it the chicken that came first or the egg?
You mean whether we became popular because of the media?
In other words, through individual contacts and through your own aggressive promotion, did you secure that coverage and become successful, or did you become successful first and then the coverage came to you? How did it happen?
I think the fact that basically that's the part of the restaurant. It's my conviction. I know a lot of people that work with restaurant companies, and restaurant companies basically don't come at it with the same passion or integrity that a private owner would do or an owner chef would do. I know the kind of food that I want to serve, for example, and I know that I only want to serve homemade food. I only want to serve fresh food, no frozen food. This is very simple food, hamburgers. And if you cut corners, if you cheat, then you're not offering any value added to your customer base. I have a friend who works at a very large restaurant company, and he does a chain of Hawaiian-themed restaurants that I shall not mention. And he says, my restaurants are not about the food. He said, my restaurants are for Japanese guests who have been to Hawaii and they're kind of nazakashi and they want to enjoy that experience again in Tokyo. Or it's for guests who haven't been to Hawaii, and they might never get to Hawaii, but they'll enjoy seeing the surfboard and the palm trees and the postcards. That's not the kind of restaurant. I'm sorry?
Might that be a burger
No, it's not a
restaurant?
burger
Something
restaurant.
tiki something. I know the place.
Right, which is fine, and he's very successful, but that's not the kind of experience that I want to offer. I want to offer one where you can enjoy kind of a theme, a New York experience, but you also get food that's going to satisfy you. So it's a very different approach. I know another restaurateur who's very successful, and what he does is the first thing he does is he goes and he looks at Akitempo. He goes to see where there's an open shop all over Tokyo. And he made a shop in Toyosu. Now Toyosu, has all of these Koso mansions. And he looked around, he said, well, there's no place for the mothers and the kids to get together during the week. And he was right. And he's made a restaurant there, and it's very successful. But again, that's another way to do a restaurant. He's looking at it geographically and in terms of the demographics as well. So like my first friend is doing it in terms of a theme park attitude. The second one is doing it looking at the market and then seeing what kind of restaurant will fulfill that market. In my case, I guess my dream is to show people the kind of food that I grew up with, and to make it as well as I can make it and introduce it. So that's kind of the, I would say, risky part of my strategy. Because demographically, I looked at my neighborhood, I looked at the environment where I was making the restaurant, and I saw that it was densely residential, and that, people could afford what I was going to charge. But whether people wanted to buy what I wanted to sell was something I had no confirmation of. And to be frank, the restaurant is what they call a destination restaurant. So it's an event. So let's say your husband's finally home on Saturday and you and the kids are together and you want to go out and do something, well, you come to Martiniburger and you have a family lunch. But let's say you're a salaryman and you've only got 35 minutes to spare, you might not necessarily come for lunch on a Tuesday. So again, what I've learned about the restaurant is that, yes, I have to stick to my concept, but again, like what I had to learn about changing the menu, I also have to learn about adjusting the menu and the specials and the offers even from the morning to the afternoon to the night, from the weekday to the weekend. And again, that's a learning experience about working in Tokyo. Again, that's something that you don't see often in New York. Basically, if you want Joe's Pizza, you go to Joe's Pizza place. If Joe gives you 50% off on your coffee, that's great, but that's not going to drag you to Joe's Pizza place. You go to Joe's Pizza place because you trust Joe and you trust his pizza. And that's the kind of model that I'm starting with. But again, in these 2 years, I'm learning how to be flexible and how to be flexible enough that I can stay true to the concept that I have in mind. It's very important that I'm sticking to my concept, and my concept is something that my guests can understand as well.
Okay, do they come to your restaurant because they trust you and because they like your food, and also because you've developed somewhat of a bond with them and they just want to talk to you?
That's true. A lot of guests come to talk to me, because I'm the entertainment. I'm the funny guy from New York. So that's fine with me. A lot of people come because their friends have recommended it. And once they have the food, they're very flattering. They said that they've never had food this good. Because a lot of people here are used to having Kagurazaka or McDonald's or that kind of burger. And I'm not criticizing those restaurants, but it's a different type of product than the product that we offer. And again, that's part of the story of our restaurant. I mean, it's basically the trajectory of burgers in the United States and in Japan are gyaku, they're opposite. Because in Japan, it started with McDonald's in the 1970s. And since the 70s, it's become more of a burger boom. It's become more of what you call gourmet burger. In English, gourmet burger is not English. There's no such phrase as gourmet burger. Burger is burger. And motomoto wa katei ryori. It was something your dad would barbecue for you in your garden at home. And again, different than hamburger steak that your mother would make. And then maybe you would get it at your local pizza den, and then at your local bar. But it's almost like a hamburger in America is almost like onigiri in Japan. It's just one of those basic things, and either it's good or it isn't good. Right?
No in between.
Right, but it's something.
Excuse me, is it true comes from German cities, hamburger? Is that
Not necessarily true, no. There are many different people that claim to have invented the hamburger.
Oh,
It's very confusing.
Even the Russians say they invented it.
Yeah.
Not to interrupt, but we do have a tradition of guests introducing themselves, and we have a guest who got lost on her way, but this doesn't mean she should not introduce herself. So Sayo, please stand up and give an introduction.
I'm sorry to be late. So my name is Sayo Misofuchi. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And I run my own printing company. It's a small company though, but so it's very hard to run my company, and because printing world is so severe, very severe. So today I can listen to your success story in Japan. So I've been looking forward to seeing you, but so my customers didn't go out from my company, so I couldn't. So this story is very difficult for me because I'm not good at understanding English. So today's food. This is
some of our food, yeah.
Very delicious. Thank you very much.
It's nice to hear. Thank you.